After our little chat, Michel gave me permission to make use of anything in the mansion. It still came with the condition that I stayed away from his room and didn't pry into his personal life, but that seemed fair enough, considering I didn't want him digging into mine either. In fact, I couldn't have asked for a better arrangement. After so long wandering with the food constant uncertainty, having a roof over my head and meals at my convenience was heaven on earth. He had dried foods and smoked meats in the cellar, as well as bread, which, last I checked, didn't store for very long. But he never seemed to leave the house, so I did recall hearing some rumors on my way here. Whispers of a shadowy carriage occasionally seen heading toward the cursed mansion. No one knew for sure what it carried, but there was a general consensus. Offerings to the witch. Fresh sacrifices to keep her appeased. Which was obvious nonsense. No one was sending shipments of virgins to offer to the witch. A basket of bread and other supplies now, maybe. Rumors have a way of taking on a life of their own, but that was so patently absurd I couldn't believe anyone bought it. That still left me with scores of questions, though. Who was bringing Michel the supplies, and for what purpose? Why did he never leave? Was he imprisoned here for some iniquity? But obviously, I had no intention of seeking out the answers. If we spent long enough together, I'd probably find out eventually. But I knew damn well I didn't have that kind of time left. What point was there to lifting the curtains on someone else's life when chances were I was going to croak not long after? I had no intention of repeating Pandora's mistake. If I was going to spend my last days here living with him, I wasn't going to get anywhere near that jar and risk making waves. I couldn't say whether or not that was the best strategy. But regardless, I made it through our first 2 weeks together we made it through our first weeks together well enough. And those 2 weeks, it seemed like the two of us were talking more and more. I was standing before the stained glass window. It had become routine for me to spend a few hours of each far too long day in the mansion's chapel. I wasn't so naive as to think the angel would grant me relief, but I did sort of enjoy being in the presence of something so magnificent and undeniably beyond my reach. It was impressive the same way as any other massively expensive piece of art. Now that I think about it, I never really appreciated art when I was younger. Couldn't even tell the difference between what was good and bad. Maybe because I was just a kid. Or because there was nothing there to appreciate. Imeon. Imeon? Oh, hey, sorry. I'm lost in my thoughts. What's the occasion? You almost never initiate. I need your help with something. Damn, is the sky gonna fall down today? So what can I do for you? I'm going to cover up the stained glass window. You're gonna what? It seemed unsurprisingly that was the last thing he expected to come out of my mouth. And the incredulity was obvious, even in his raspy old man's voice. I could easily imagine the expression he might be making beneath the mask, if he'd had a face left to make it with. Would asking for a reason count as prying? No particular reason. I simply disliked the sight of it. Well, that's a damn shame. I rather enjoyed my time with it. I seem to recall you saying it was nothing more than colored glass. In a spiritual sense, sure, but do I look like I'm praying to it? No, I'm admiring the craftsmanship. It's one hell of a piece. I see. Though I've pretty much got the thing memorized by now, so sure, let me give you a hand. Thank you. Follow me. I gave Imeon a quick glance and started down the hall. I walked at a relaxed pace, because as much as he tried to hide it, he was visibly more sluggish than 2 weeks prior. Even breathing seemed to be an endeavor for him. As I walked, I made sure he was keeping up by the sound of his footsteps, but never once did I turn back to look. Facing away, I said, "You didn't have to come along." "Excuse me? You're the one who asked me to." "Don't you think it a bit inconsiderate to ask someone in your condition to do hard physical labor? No one with any common decency would do that." "Well, I guess that puts you in the clear." "I'm just joking. Don't bite my head off." I didn't say anything. I wouldn't say I think it's inconsiderate, personally. In fact, I really appreciate you not giving me special treatment, of any kind. You don't go easy on me because I'm sick, and you don't put me through the ringer for it either. I prefer it that way. Us both on level ground. If you say so. I know I just said that I appreciate you not going easy on me, but this is a bit much, don't you think? And holy hell, this room's 10 times mustier than the rest of the joint. I've got it. This is a really freaking roundabout way of murder, isn't it? I told you that you didn't have to help. The two of us were looking down on an old weathered bundle of cloth that had been in the mansion longer than I ever had. It was a single piece, large enough to cover the entire stained glass window, and thick enough to block out its light. The fabric was far heavier than most people realized, and something this thick and tightly woven was going to weigh a ton. I knew I wouldn't be able to carry it to the chapel by myself. You're free to head back to your room. I'll do it. I'm not backing out now. Besides, there's not a chance in hell you're getting this up there alone. It's not that long of a walk from here to the chapel, I think. Alright, let's do this. Hold up, I need a breather. Hey, don't drop it without warning me, asshole! Hey, quit trying to act like you're hot shit. I guess you're just as winded as me. What do you know? I'm perfectly fine. Someone is out of shape. You're the last person I want to hear that from. Hey now, at least I have an excuse. You're in perfect freaking health. And look at me, I'm half dead here. Before I got sick, I could run for 24 hours straight, no problem. Alright, let's get going. Are you deaf? Finally, we made it. Seriously thought I would die before we got here. That's one for the gravestone. Died carrying a bundle of fabric. Not trying to hide it anymore, are ya? Not a word. Oh god, I'm laughing and coughing. Where's this coming from? And please don't cough and laugh at the same time. It's disturbing. I don't know, it's freaking hilarious. What is? You don't think this is the funniest damn thing in the world? Two grown-ass men carrying a giant sheet through the dark, grinding themselves to the bone, so they don't have to look at a pretty stained glass window. Like, for real, are you hearing that? It's the stupidest thing. I cannot say I find it amusing myself. Well, you're lost, buddy. Let's finish this up then, shall we? I assume the pulpit isn't nailed down, so we can use that to get some height. He seems to be enjoying himself. I can't imagine enjoying much of anything in that kind of condition. I'm not sure if I'll ever understand him. The way he's being so upbeat. It's kind of bringing me down. Why should him acting cheerful have any effect on me? I buried that emotion long ago. What are you doing here exactly? Have we been over this? I want to ask the witch. You're no fool. I don't need to tell you that the witch isn't real. For the past 2 weeks, I let Imeon explore the house as he pleased. He'd likely seen everything but my chambers by now. It should have been obvious there was no third person living here. I was the only one who could hear the witch's voice. I was the only one who could feel her presence. All the servants my family had sent over the years are proof of that. She may have existed for me, but from his perspective there was no meaningful difference between that and her not existing at all. Remember what you said in the storeroom? There's not a chance in hell you're getting this up here alone. If you still believe the witch was real, if you still believe there was a third person living in this mansion, you wouldn't have said that. What do you want from this place? Somewhere to die. Do you want to make this your final resting place? Someone's feeling talkative today. This isn't funny. It's comfortable here. There's a warmth to the darkness. And it doesn't reject me for being impure. Impure? That's what everyone says about me. I have no say in the matter. I have an impure disease, so that makes me impure. I think it's story time. What do you say? This time we'll go a little more into detail. My life was set. I had dozens of friends and a wonderful, loving family. I didn't bother with the family business, instead spending my days wandering. But on one of my trips, I got sick and I got scared. So I rushed back home wanting nothing more than to see my family and friends again. When I got there, no one recognized me as me. They called me a demon impersonating their Imeon. A demon. You saying the Boulanger family has no need for a demon child, that you're a mark of shame on her name. So it's going to have you executed. They came to the consensus that the real Imeon was still off traveling. They wouldn't accept me for who I was just because I didn't look like what they thought I should. What does that have to do with my question? Basically what I'm saying is, there's not many people who are willing to see the truth. The truth. That I am who I say I am. That I'm Imeon, not some evil doppelganger. The only person who sees me as an ordinary fella is you, Michel. I do not agree with Father's decision. I do not want to lose you. I don't think you're a demon child. Don't misconstrue apathy for... I don't care why. All that matters is that you do. You see me for who I am, and that's the most amazing feeling. I haven't done anything to warrant that reaction. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's that it's foolish to rely on anyone for emotional support. Don't blindly put your trust in me. Don't expect anything out of me. Please. Like I said, I don't care why. As I stood there in silence, Imeon's laugh echoed off the chapel's walls. He then climbed onto the pulpit, which was probably brutal in his joints, though he didn't show it, crossed his legs, and looked up at the glass angel. His arms were thin as twigs, his voice raspy as an old man's, his hair devoid of all sheen, his entire body deteriorating. Even the most callous of men would cringe at the piteous sight. Yet he sat there with his head held high, a smug smirk on his face. For a split second the thought crossed my mind, that if the name Michel didn't belong to me, but to him instead, he would have been able to just laugh off that painting. And as soon as I caught myself, I froze. Back to your question. What do you think? Why do I want to stay here even though the witch doesn't exist? I knew what he wanted me to say, and I knew that I couldn't. I hadn't done a single thing to deserve that from him. What he felt was disproportionate to reality. Silent treatment again? You figured it out, though. I know you have. There's your answer. If I were even half of what I used to be, I'd love to drag you out of this house kicking and screaming. Travel far and wide together. Find the place you feel more at home than anywhere else in the world. Be nice, wouldn't it? Leave me out of your fantasies. He could only think that way because he'd led such a cushy life. That may have come crashing now he got sick, but only someone who'd been well off would ever think there was hope to be found outside. And on top of that, he was simple and honest enough to admit it. I'm just jealous of him. That's all this is. Take a seat up here on the pulpit with me. Feels like you're shoving your ass right in God's face. I wish I'd tried this sooner. It's friggin' incredible. It really is. Between the two of us, a guy who probably could overpower a rabbit and someone on death's damned doorstep, covering up a stained glass window was a grueling task. That day marked a turning point in our relationship, though. It was an insignificant change, something I doubt anyone but us would be able to notice, but it wasn't the degree that mattered. There was a real shift in the air between us. Michel didn't seem to be so persistently wary of me anymore, and I started to feel more relaxed in his presence. I didn't have to prove anything to anyone here. In part because he didn't pry into my personal life, but also because my time was so limited. I didn't have any reason to keep up a front anymore. The biggest factor, though, was that no one here knew who I was. From time to time, Imeon and I would have supper together. I wasn't going out my way to spend time with him, but I didn't particularly mind it either. I had no reason to. We stayed out of each other's business, and we both knew it was a temporary arrangement. As his disease worsened, his once exasperating vigor started to seem more and more obviously like a facade. When he spoke, it was like I could hear the remnants of his fading soul spill out with each gravely syllable. It was getting difficult to make out what he said at all. But still, he persisted to act as though nothing was wrong around me. So I acted in kind, making sure not to touch on his deteriorating condition. You know, we never take it around to talking about my adventures. Nobody's stopping you. You can just be honest and say you want to hear them. I could see it in your eyes. You love adventure stories. Not only that, you want to go on some yourself. That could not be further from the truth. Alright, let's see. How about the story of the Battle in the Northlands? About 5 years back, I was traveling lands far north. Heavy snowfall covered the land in the winter, stretching as far as the eye could see, and with the arrival of spring would melt and rejuvenate the earth. It was a lot colder up north than it is down here, but the lands were fertile nonetheless. And naturally, where there's fertile land, there's people fighting over it. 2 countries, one to the east and one to the west, vied for control over this particular area. I watched the battle from the safety of a nearby hill. The theater for this battle was a large plain, a sea situated to the north. Separating the two was a river flowing south from the sea. It wasn't a very deep river, though. Both horses and infantry could cross it, albeit with some difficulty. The Western Army attacked first. They outnumbered and were better equipped than the Eastern Army, their soldiers well trained and their commanders sharp. Planning and organization allowed them to cross the river with ease. And once they were on the other side, they stormed the Eastern Army. Now, how do you suppose the battle went? Wouldn't make for a very good story if the Western Army simply went on to defeat the Eastern Army. Because you're asking, I presume the Eastern Army had something up their sleeve. Jeez, you're the worst kind of person to tell a story to, buddy. Play along at least, would you? I hate to burst your bubble, but I am not a child listening to a bedtime story. Well, you're right about one thing. I would have framed things differently if the Western Army was going to win. Maybe go on in detail about how advanced their equipment was, how strong their soldiers were, name-dropped a commander or two. But no, the Western Army did not conquer the Eastern Army. In fact, they were both defeated. Oh. Yep, thanks to the intervention of a third force. Now, where do you suppose this mysterious third force came from? It was the Danes. You've got to be kidding me. You suck at this. Given what you described, 2 sides divide by a river flowing from a sea to the north. The larger Western Army crossing over to take the Eastern Army by surprise. The logical conclusion is that a third force would travel down the aforementioned river. Neither side had ships able to sail such shallow waters, so they didn't anticipate an attack from the river. The Danes to the north, however, have numerous ships capable of exactly that. That's why they're feared as the lords of the sea. Yep, that's exactly right. Thanks for skipping all the good parts and going straight to the answer. A fleet of ships with dragonheads on both ends sailed down the river after the Western Army crossed, quickly making the land. The Danes are fearsome warriors, and big boys at that. They're the Vikings, if you didn't know. That's who he's talking about. They attacked both armies from behind, taking them out in no time. And the land fell into the hands of the invaders from the north. Then, once it was all over, I hauled ass right the hell out of there. I've only read of the Danes' fearsome prowess in books. For you to witness an actual ambush. Jealous? See, what'd I tell you? You're all about these adventure stories. I am not. Well, I sure am. The Danes, they can travel both shallow waters and the open sea. The whole world's at their fingertips. Everyone just thinks they're savages. They don't see their potential. I wonder what's out there, across the seas. What wondrous world awaits beyond those waters? I bet it's heaven on earth out there. A land unlike anything you can find traveling on foot. So long as man infests the surface, you will find no heaven on this earth. I knew you weren't a people person, but hot damn, you're worse than I ever imagined. You can't make it through life on misanthropy and cynicism alone. Somebody needs to teach you how to dream, buddy. Dreams are just that. Fantasies never to be realized. Dreams are freedom. It doesn't matter if you're sick or a sinner, infirm or exiled. You can go anywhere inside your head. You have complete and absolute freedom in your dreams. All empty hopes and dreams do is erode the spirit. I gave up on mine for a reason. If I were in good health, I could have asked the Danes to take me on one of their longships. Bring me somewhere far, far away from here. A place where everyone's equal. No poor and no rich to oppress them. No one being judged for their looks or the family they were born into. I could have gone on another adventure. Brought you along this time. Found our paradise. I'm pretty sure the only way you're getting on a longship is as a captive to the Danes. Remember what I said about dreams like 3 seconds ago? Shove that silly realism into a box and lock it up. You can dream whatever sort of crazy, outrageous nonsense you... Imeon. Don't worry about... Okay, so back to story time. After I escaped from the Danes, I crossed paths with this incredible bard. This one's gonna blow your mind, I'm sure. I'm sure. I didn't tell him not to push himself. He knew his own condition far better than me. I didn't have to tell him continuing was a bad idea. My role was to be quiet and listen. Imeon then sung for me a song he supposedly learned from the bard. I could sing better way back. I could sing way better than this back then, he said with a strained laugh before the rap began the raspy ballad. Every note melted into a sort of indistinct flat buzz, but it was still somehow pleasant to listen to. Perhaps because I'd imagined what his voice may have sounded like in its prime. A bright, optimistic, unwavering, powerful voice. All the more enchanting because it existed only in my imagination. As I listened to him sing, so much that I kept sealed away slowly crept back to the surface. I felt like I was being whisked away into a far distant world. By the tales of his exploit in the bard's song, with Imeon, his hand held out, waiting to take mine. The words, "Let's set off to a new world, buddy," on his lips. But his time on Earth was drawing to a close. Those fantasies faded to fade into nothing. You aren't seriously going to make friends with him, are you? I thought you were better than that. Or do you think you'll get something out of this? Well, you're sorely mistaken. You've forgotten what you truly are, and gotten it into your head you can be equals with him. Your heart brims with blight. Yet here you are, grasping at companionship, knowing full well it's but a fleeting illusion. What do you have to gain from forging a friendship with him? Already tiring of me, are you, my dear? Very well, I shall take my leave. Despite what they may say, I'm a very kind-hearted girl. To those whose fates are sealed, that is. I pray you're blessed with wonderful dreams tonight. That night I had a dream. Not a nightmare nor a dream of the past. A warm, pleasant, slightly bittersweet dream. I hadn't had one like this in quite some time. An endless field stretched out before us. We pushed our way through the sea of waist-high grass, pressing onward toward the ever-distant horizon. A spring breeze whisked past, caressing my cheek. At my side stood a man beaming as bright as the sun. He had hair of deep scarlet, like the color of the setting sun. His eyes were unflinching, like lips showing his strong resolve. His chest was smooth and muscular, and he had a musky scent. It was my first time seeing his face, but I knew exactly who he was. Not much farther now. The man spoke. Our paradise is just up ahead. His lips curled up. It was a smile that might look condescending on any other face, but on his it seemed perfectly natural, not a trace of disdain. In fact, anything but a cocky smirk would have seemed out of place, which made reality that much more bitter. Here on the other side of the sea, in this beautiful land, no one will think less of us for anything. If someone happens to find out about you, no one's going to make a big deal out of it. And no one's going to be afraid of my disease. I was well aware of the fact that it was a dream. And I thought it a rather cruel one. Imeon was right. I did love adventure stories, and I did want to go on one of my own. This was the very thing I had wished for since I was a child. Two men setting out together, free from obligations, on a journey to see the world. Exploring the unknown and sharing that experience with a dear friend. But it could never happen. Not so long as I was who I was. And not so long as Imeon was sick and on the verge of death. It was a dream we could never make come true, no matter how badly we wanted it, no matter how hard we fought for it. It wasn't an entirely impossible dream, though. There was one part of it that could become reality. The two of us becoming friends. There was probably enough time before he died for me to get close enough to tell him how I really felt. That I just wanted a friend. That I wanted to be able to laugh and frown and get upset like an ordinary guy. Like him. There may be time, but that's not enough. I had spent too much of my life isolated. I'd almost irreversibly adapted to the solitude. Breaking through that shell would be no easy task, especially not with my unmistakable secret hovering over me. The very fact of my nature, which had transformed me from the namesake of an angel into an abominable demon that didn't deserve to live. Something I couldn't tell anyone, couldn't let anyone figure out, which meant that a normal friendship was impossible for me to form. And I knew that far too well. That night I had a dream. Not a nightmare, nor a dream of the past. A warm, pleasant, slightly bittersweet dream. I hadn't had one like this in quite some time. An endless field stretched out before us. We pushed our way through the sea of waist-high grass, pressing onward toward the ever-distant horizon. A spring breeze whisked past, caressing my cheek. At my side stood a man with a somewhat forlorn look on his face. He had long silver hair that fluttered in the wind. A darkness was visible beneath the pale of his eyes, and his lips were furled into a half-scowl. He was tall enough that I had to look up at him. The man furrowed his brow as if to scorn the shining sun for daring to be brighter than the candlelight he was so used to. It was my first time getting a good look at him. I might have gotten some of the smaller details wrong, but he was still very distinctly the Michel I knew. I pointed toward the horizon and said, "That's where our paradise awaits." He didn't seem to believe we'd actually find anything, but he still joined me on my endless journey with nary a complaint. So all it takes is bringing him into my dreams to drag the cynicism out of him, I thought. Then, with a laugh, I said, "We would make pretty good friends, don't you think?" His eyes swam for a few moments before he finally muttered a response. Many years ago, I dreamed of having something like this. You gotta be a little more specific. Like my two brothers. Keep going? Someone I could share anything with, and could do the same with me. Someone who understands me without need of words. The classic image of a friend. Two guys who have always got each other's backs. Michel crossed his arms and turned his head away. He might have even blushed. I couldn't see for sure. I had mixed feelings, though I was mostly glad to hear he felt that way, and I wanted to make the dream come true. It'll be just like that, you'll see, buddy. Another breath of wind blew past. I was pretty sure I was smiling. The way I always did. The way I always pretended to. My self-confident, utterly vacuous smirk. If we really got to know each other, there was no way we would ever be friends. True friendship was impossible to achieve between us, and I knew that far too well.